Hello adventurers, I'm Gray and welcome to another Hytale blog update, this time a more technical one about building NPC behaviors. Now this goes into quite a lot of detail about how NPCs are programmed, the coding and the scripting and things like that, and I don't understand too much about coding. That's something for my friends to talk about more than I. However, it is important for the game and for the modding community, so I want to go over it anyway, just to see all the possibilities you can make with all these characters in the game. So to start out, they're going to give an overview of how the behavior scripting system provides ways to bring NPCs and creatures to life. They're going to show some aspects of twerks and how they react to the player, the environment, and each other, and these apply to Hytale's other creatures, with all of them being customizable by modders. And from what I've seen consistently, they're really pushing the modding capabilities of Hytale. I think they really want a community to form around adding things to the game, modding things into the game, things like that, because they know that that's necessary to keep games like this alive. And that's a big reason why Minecraft was kept alive for so many years. So everything here is a work in progress and they may change, but we're going to take a look anyway. So first of all, we can see a little twerk animation here, and I'll do a quick zoom in of it. This is nothing new really, this is just a look at the Hytale model maker, which we've seen quite a few times. After a creature has been designed and its model and animations have been made in the Hytale model maker, the NPC developers are tasked with bringing it to life with behavior scripting, which uses JSON scripts that call on modular behavior elements that allow us to specify how an NPC perceives the world and how it reacts. Basically, this is technical speak for NPC sees thing, and it reacts to it. That's basically it. These scripts can trigger animations, changes in states, and more. A very simple example would be a script that determines whether a creature that's been attacked flees or defends itself, whereas more sophisticated scripts can send NPCs chasing after players or causing them to seek out things they like, such as campfires or food. And developer ASF Griffith says they use these building blocks to create an NPC from the ground up. Okay, so we can look at a twerk right here, and it has a little sample script on the left side showing how the twerk reacts to different things. If you understand coding and things like Java, you might understand what this means a little bit more. Some of my friends might understand it more, like Andrew or Tristan. From what I've gathered though, I can see a couple things. There's the beacon with a range of 30, where if there's a twerk enemy sighted, the target groups are twerk. So basically within a range of 30, I assume blocks or meters or whatever the size blocks are, other twerks in the area will know that there's been an enemy sighted, and they'll know where you are and come to attack you. So that's one example here of behavior scripting. And you can see in the play animation, slot status, animation alerted. So these twerks will immediately play an animation showing that they've been alerted to the player's location. And I believe it goes into detail about that down here. Yep, a snippet of the script that causes twerks to spring into action. It handles several elements, including an alerted animation to help the player understand they've been spotted, a beacon response causing other twerks to be alerted, and the exact details can be tweaked, but the implementation is grounded in top-level templates. So the reason why they do this, why they have these top-level templates, why everything has a baseline that everything else follows, is because it makes it easy to implement new NPCs or creatures, to mod the game, pretty much. So whenever you script a new NPC, or say I wanted to add a new NPC to the game, or even just change the animations of a current NPC, all I'd have to do is change a couple of little details, and the system, the background, the underlying baseline system, will make up for any details in it. So rather than having to do things like swing a sword or move X distance to the right, like every minute detail, we don't have to customize that stuff because it's all in the baseline system. For example, all we'd have to put is flee, and then the system would tell the twerk to flee, it would know how to interact with the land, it would know how to jump over gaps, it would know how to run away, and it would do all that stuff for us so long as we tell it to flee in a certain situation. This makes it really easy to mod the game, to change creature behaviors and that type of stuff. So if you're someone who wants to mod and add things, this should give you a lot of flexibility and make it easy to do it. One example of this system is down here, where they changed the twerk alert behavior to bears also. So rather than just humans causing an alert state, they changed it to include the group bear, and that causes the twerk to react to the bear, to get upset, and to try and yell at it. And the bear is just yelling back, and it looks like they're just having a screaming competition. Also, I'm going to pause real quick on this text here, so if you want to take a look at it, you can. It's just the same thing basically as before, except with a bear. And with a range of 10 this time, if the bear is within a range of 10. So now we have a twerk hunter who yells at bears. This is an example, but they won't necessarily do this in the final game, but it makes it straightforward to introduce new details to the creature's behavior. Next, the blog goes into how these behaviors are implemented, starting off with a mapping by the design team to show what behaviors they want to be in the game before it's implemented, and sometimes this means they need to add new features completely to the behavior system in order to make that work. Occasionally though, whenever they're experimenting with the behavior system as it is, they find new fun things that they decide to implement to the game. For example, Chorks will have a sparring behavior where they start punching each other just for fun, you know. And then when they're implementing this, a defeated Chork would change state randomly, just for testing I assume. It would change state to different random states. But sometimes they'd switch to a nap state immediately and just after getting punched fall asleep. And you can imagine that whenever that happens, it looks like they just felt unconscious in the sparring battle. So because they thought it was funny, they decided to add it to the game, and now Chorks fall asleep after they get punched after they lose a sparring match. And you know what? I like that they're doing this. I like that developers see something that's fun whenever they're playtesting and just add it to the game, because that means that they're actually just trying to add a sort of charm, a sort of quirkiness to the game. That whenever they find things that are funny, they just add what they want. And I like the creativity and the creative freedom in adding whatever you feel like is fun to the game as a developer. Their intent is to create creatures and NPCs that contribute to the immersiveness by acting independently of the player. For example, Chorks have a particular fondness of discarded meat, which is one way the players can interact with the Chorks without the Chorks attacking them. So you could throw meat on the ground, for example, and the Chork would go after it and then get distracted by the meat, and then I assume you could sneak attack that Chork if you want to. Or, you know, just let him enjoy his meat. I mean, come on, man. What are you, some kind of monster trying to interrupt a Chork having his meal? How the player chooses to take advantage of it is completely up to them, of course. And the team has found that combining lots of simple behaviors can produce a lifelike result. For example, they created a script for a Chork archer and was trying to test how well the archer fires. And this goes a bit into more of a combat scenario. So it's the first time they had a possibility for an NPC to switch weapons. The Chork would use the bow as an archer and stuff like that, but once the player got close to the Chork, rather than constantly firing arrows like a Minecraft skeleton, for example, like skeleton will just try to dodge you slightly, keep on firing arrows, and it will just fire really quickly. However, these Chorks are more lifelike in that when you get close, they'll switch to a melee weapon and start whacking you all of a sudden. Which, anyone in real life, if you got close to an archer, like they don't just have a bow and arrow. They have melee weapons because bows and arrows aren't very good whenever you're close to the enemy. So they have to be able to switch on a moment's notice. And that's what Chorks are able to do, which is really cool. And I like how these interactions make them more interesting to fight. The next section is more about immersion rather than combat or anything like that. There's a Chork just napping outside, having a good time, you know, being really relaxed. However, it starts to rain, and as you can expect, it's really awful whenever you're just relaxing outside, when you're camping outside, lying down in the grass, and then all of a sudden it starts raining all over you and you get soaked. But rather than remain in the rain, like many other games where these monsters just don't care, the Chork realizes it's raining, shows that he is visibly annoyed by it, and then goes underneath a canopy where it's dry, next to a campfire, to dry himself off, to heat himself up. And that's really interesting because that's more immersive. That really shows the personality of the Chork, where rather than just ignore everything, they do react to the world. And their goal is to have many immersive moments like this and to see what modders can come up with when they get their hands on it. I can imagine modders creating full-on, like, lifelike characters that have full routines and do crazy things. Like, I don't think I'm able to do anything like that, but if you're good at coding, I can imagine it's not too difficult to add something like that. Or at least to add a few animations to a new character. And then finally, there's a few more quick examples at the end of NPC behaviors, starting with Quebecs, who, as they mentioned before, don't ever need to eat anything because they get their nutrients from sunlight. So they just lie down in the grass and sunbathe. And look how cute they are! Look at these little Quebecs. I don't think there's too many details in this to point out other than the cute Quebecs, so we're going to move on here to the Goblins. Goblins are fond of throwing bombs at a problem. They can destroy blocks and create holes, which is a problem in and of itself. Good job, Goblins. And you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Minecraft creepers. These Goblins are like the Minecraft creepers of Hytale. I mean, just look at them. They're small, they're green, they're narrow, they blow stuff up. They're basically the same thing, other than the fact that they don't blow themselves up with their bombs. And also, I'm pretty sure these goblins are found in specific areas like underground and goblin dens, so they're not just going to appear on the overworld and blow up your base, which I personally see as a positive thing. Creepers can be somewhat annoying whenever you're building something, spent a lot of resources on it, and then they blow it up. And I feel like if Minecraft... I feel like if creepers weren't in Minecraft since the very beginning as a legacy thing, they would not have been added later on because people would just get so pissed off at their stuff getting blown up. Of course, now people love creepers because they're just a symbol of Minecraft pretty much. Almost more than Minecraft Steve, creepers are a symbol of Minecraft. They're a big legacy thing, very well known. At the same time though, they are griefers, and I'm glad these goblins will have the similar effect but also be in a limited area. So if you want to have the risk of them being around, you could build close to them, but otherwise they'll just try and blow you up whenever you're going near their dens, protecting themselves. Those darn wascally goblins. Anyway, that's all for this blog post. It was a rather technical one and not too long, but it's still interesting to see how NPC behaviors will be in this game and how detailed they are. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these Hytale based videos because there's a lot more where that came from, and I hope to see you all on the next adventure.